don't know how y'all survive this real life drama. These are not Reddit stories. These are your stories. The first one wants to be left anonymous. Girl, you are going to lose your mind when you hear about what my ex did to me. I'm so sorry, but this is music to my ears. Brace yourself because this is a dating horror movie. Fake names are used. I am just so honored that you are sharing this with me. With us. I'm so sorry. Involved are me, 22 female, and my ex-boyfriend, Will, 23 male, and one anonymous person that will be revealed later. It's a twist you will not see coming. I'll start where it all began and work our way to when everything turned into a horror movie. This was back in 2013. Me and Will dated for 2 years at a wedding. Who knew a wedding could lead you to finding a relationship? It was at one of my girlfriend's weddings, and Will was friends with the groom. We shared a dance, and the rest was history. Just your old romantic meetup at a wedding. Will definitely knew how to be smooth and funny when he said, if this works out, maybe it'll be us. The good old charm. Over the next 2 years, Will and I grew to be closer, and it definitely felt like I hit the jackpot. Will was everything you could look for in a man. He was a blue-collar worker, went out of his way to make me happy, and he always loved to poke fun at me every day. He was just such a catch. This wasn't intended to be anything mean, more like in a way to keep you on your toes. Humor definitely was the glue that kept us together, but there was no humor about what happened at the end of it all. Fast forward, I began to notice that Will started to become more distant. The Will I always knew was always happy and very talkative, but then all of a sudden, he wasn't being very open with me about his feelings and would occasionally lash out on me. One time, he punched the bathroom door so hard that it broke off the hinges. That's when you run.
Fly, you fools!
That was a red flag I should have acknowledged. I'm not saying it's wrong to be angry, but punching doors off the hinge in a fit of rage is not healthy. When I confronted him about this, he started to get emotional. I'm sorry for yelling, I've just been really stressed out about life lately, and I don't know how to handle it. This gave me the notion that he needed me to be more supportive and caring, so I began to do more things for Will than I usually did. At first, it seemed to be a good thing because Will was back to his original self as I always knew him to be. If you're ever feeling stressed, please don't hesitate to come to me because I will always be there for you, I said as I kissed him on the forehead. This was my way of showing my affection to him because I feel every man needs this kind of love. Unfortunately, all my efforts went to waste because of the stunt Will pulled on me. Here is where it began to unravel. It was my birthday and Will told me that he had a special surprise for me. He said he wanted to show me his appreciation for all I did for him, and it had me all excited. You can guess what I was originally picturing, but it surely turned out to be something you couldn't even picture happening. Are you thinking it's like he's gonna propose to you? That evening, Will put a blindfold over me and led me to our bedroom for a surprise. Oh, different kind of surprise maybe. I thought we were in for a night of romance, but it was anything but romance. Brave yourself, you're not ready for this twist. Oh my God, I'm scared. I'm really scared. I don't want to read. Okay, after taking the blindfold off, I see another woman sitting in our bed. But not just any woman. It was Will's stepsister. Yes, his stepsister, Alma. What in God's good name was she doing in our bed? Will told me he brought her here because he wanted us to have a threesome. I feel sick. I feel sick. Oh my gosh. I don't know how to handle this. I don't want to be filming alone right now. You guys have to come through this camera. What is going on? I don't know. I feel like I would just set my house on fire. As you can imagine, my mind was completely blown because I could have never imagined my boyfriend ever doing something like this. Okay, well, like clearly they have something going on because stepsister's also in on it. Oh, no. Millions of things are going through my mind. Why on earth would I ever want to have a third person involved, and why of all people would you choose your stepsister? I said to him. Will said he couldn't find anyone who would do it except her and felt like that it was best to... I'm gonna throw up. Keep it in the family. Oh my God, I actually got nauseous. Absolutely disgusting. I'm not sure what indication I ever gave to Will that made him think I would be okay with something like this, because I sure as hell never asked for it, nor would I ever even engage in something like this, because that to me is not a relationship. Forget the threesome thing, the family thing. I'm starting to sweat. I feel so sick. Now, perhaps the biggest problem with this is that this was indicating that Will and Alma definitely had something going on between. Yes, like I said. Yeah. If she was willing to engage in this kind of act, that's enough to tell me she was definitely doing more behind my back. So I asked, how long have you two been doing this behind my back? Neither of them would answer. The silence said it all. Alma spoke up and said, we just wanted to make your birthday special. Can I even read this on the internet? I feel sick. I understand step siblings through marriage, not blood, but y'all, no.
No, God, please, no.
I'm freaking out. Yeah, you only made it special by making it quite possibly the worst birthday in the history of any birthdays. At that moment, I went bat crazy. I shoved her off the bed. I started throwing the pillows and candles everywhere. I chased her out of the room, and it was just me and Will. I had never been more angry in my life. The next couple of minutes involved us exchanging words, and I was done. I told Will we were broken up. Will was doing his best to try and act like this was just a mistake, but it surely wasn't. I don't know how anyone could think of something like this to be normal. Long story short, I packed up my stuff and got out of there very quickly. There's a story that you'll never forget, girl. I wish you weren't anonymous so you could just message me and we could talk, because I have so many things to say. You're so correct. Nothing would prepare me for that story or that plot twist. I will not forget that story. In fact, I will probably go tell people in my everyday life that story. And luckily, you kept it anonymous. I wouldn't write you out like that. I would just say it's a story I read from Reddit or something. I don't know how to go on with this video after that. I cannot wait for the comment section of this video, let me tell you. Thank you for being so honest. Let's move on to our next story. Hopefully it's not as bad as that one. This one's coming in from Miss Innocent. Ooh, Miss Independent. Kelly Clarkson? Let me take you back to New Year's Eve, 1999, when I was 18 years old. I remember it was that year due to the whole millennium thing that was blown out of proportion everywhere. I will change every name of the story to keep everyone anonymous. My friend Jillian invited me to a party at a guy's place. I didn't know this guy since he was a friend of Jillian's boyfriend, Matteo. His name was Michael, and he had the house all to himself since his parents were celebrating with friends somewhere else. This house was huge. Clearly, rich people lived there. Michael didn't let money get to his head. He was such a sweet guy that welcomed me with open arms. Despite having the whole house to ourselves, we stayed in Michael's room. We partied all night. We're from a country where there was no age for drinking back in those days. Welcome to Europe, my friends. So we were getting drunk and having fun. At some point, hours into the party, 3 other guys showed up. From what Michael said, one of them, named Sebastian, was a neighbor from further down the street, and the other 2 were friends that he was just celebrating with. Michael invited them in, and they stayed for about half an hour before going back to Sebastian's house. We continued partying, and I got hungry. Michael took me to the kitchen where he made some bread for me, and we chatted while I ate. I had never seen such a big kitchen before. I think my parents' little kitchen could be in their kitchen 3 or 4 times. We were only in the end of the kitchen since that's where the fridge was. After eating a slice of bread, we were back to his room. I eventually went home at some point during the night and slept in as one does after a long night of partying. January 1st went as it always does. People are home nurturing their hangovers and just relaxing. January 2nd is where things took a turn. Jillian texted me and said Michael's mom's wallet had been stolen at the party. I texted back that I was sorry to hear that. Her second text asked me if I had taken it. I was baffled that she would even ask me that. She and another friend that we used to have 2 years earlier used to steal money from their parents' wallets. They tried to make me steal from my parents too, but I always refused. The fact that she asked me if I was the thief was honestly laughable. She should have known better. I texted back that I hadn't taken it. Her third text explained that the wallet had been in the kitchen, and since I was the one in there, it had to be me. I texted back that Michael was out there with me. Her fourth text said that we were all going to the police station to have our fingerprints taken, since one of the parents of her boyfriend Mateo was a police officer. I texted back to tell me when and I would be there. I hadn't done anything wrong. And then I thought about it later. How would that even prove anything since we had all been in the house and the wallet was missing? 3 weeks passed with no contact, and then she came to visit. She started out by apologizing. The wallet had been found a few days later, tossed in the bushes outside of the house. The money was of course missing. Weeks later, Sebastian finally showed up and told Michael and his parents that one of his friends had confessed to stealing the wallet. Oh, I forgot they were there. Of course it was them. Sebastian and two strangers roll up, and they left after 30 minutes. When they left the party, no one escorted them out. The friend had apparently decided to snoop in the kitchen on his way out, and that is where he found the wallet. I don't believe he was alone to do that. Sebastian and the other friend must have been in on it for it to make sense to me. And of course, it was Mateo pressuring Jillian to accuse me of stealing it. Even Michael had told Jillian and Mateo that it wasn't me, since the wallet was in the other end of the kitchen to where we had been. But since Mateo already had an issue with me being close to Jillian, he saw this as his chance to push me out of her life. I didn't know it at the time that he was mentally abusive and just trying to control her. All that didn't come out until she finally found the courage to leave him. Of course, there never was a plan to go to the police station either. Mateo was hoping that that would just scare me into confessing. Yeah, because the fingerprints, you can fingerprint me, but you don't have the wallet to fingerprint. Jillian finally left Mateo after 3 years, and she came clean about all the mental abuse and control that she suffered from, which made this whole story make more sense to me. I experienced firsthand his anger after their breakup when we ran into him on a night out, and he threatened to beat me up. Ew. He tried to get near her and I stepped in between them, and I told him to leave her alone, and clearly he didn't like that. Don't worry, nothing happened to me, thank God, and I'm happy she got out of that. I left the bar and I went home. He tried calling Jillian the next day and continued his threats about beating me up. She told him to be aware because of some of the big men from the metal music scene that I was friends with. All these big men were soft teddy bears, but Mateo didn't know that. Luck would have it the next week, I was walking next to one of those men when I saw Mateo. He spotted me, turned around, and took off like the coward he was. And that was the last time I ever saw him. I'm still friends with Jillian. We're 44 years old now, and we don't see each other much due to adult life and such, but we still keep in touch. Well, that's a New Year's you'll never forget. One of the craziest party stories I have is that, I don't know why this just came up. This is crazy. I went to a house party of one of my good friends, and oh my God, that's the night I ended up in the hospital. That's a different story. I'm not even telling that part, but the part I was thinking of was there was a few girls, and in my high school, like they would fight people. They were known to just get into fist fights. Okay, not like my usual crowd of girls, but they liked me. I was fine with them. But they started accusing this other girl of stealing their purse at the party. And they couldn't find their purse, whatever, and they started blaming this other girl for stealing her purse. And that girl, there was drinking involved, obviously. And that girl that they were accusing started mouthing off in this, and we were all trying to warn her, like, girl, you don't wanna do it. Like, she's not the type to fight someone, but they are. Sure enough, she's mouthing off and whatever. One of the girls takes a swing, and I'm standing behind the girl trying to be like, nah, don't do it. Like, it's okay. Trying to calm down the situation. She gets clocked in the face. One of her teeth go flying out of her mouth, and I catch it. Bless her. Then she started crying and screaming and saying she looked like a hillbilly. And we Googled that you should put the tooth in milk or something, if I'm remembering correctly, because that it saves the tooth enamel, and you might be able to, the dentist would be able to, I don't know. We were, obviously a teenager and drinking alcohol. Anyways, then my night took a turn. That's another story, but the whole stealing thing, yeah, I caught her tooth. You're welcome. Now she's married and a mom and doing well and has all of her teeth. Her tooth got fixed the next day, in case you were wondering. All right, next story wants to be left anonymous. I thought I would share my own wedding drama. For some background, I, 36 female, met my now husband, 37 male, through a dating app. We were both about ready to give up because it is crazy out there when we connected. We went on a few dates and talked a lot via text, but I am not great at carrying a conversation over text. He thought I wasn't interested in him and ended it. I was upset, but decided to try and move on. Almost a year later, he reached back out asking if we could meet up. He said he had seen a few other women, but kept comparing them to me and realized that he made a mistake. We took it slowly, but he was my person. I felt like I didn't have to try with him and everything was easy. We got engaged about a year later and planned our wedding for May of 2025. So the drama began during the planning. For context, my husband was born and lived in Korea until his early 20s. He is very Americanized and doesn't really stick to any Korean traditions, except for the yummy food. However, our area has a pretty big Korean population and he has many friends and acquaintances in that community. Most have been super kind and welcoming to me. Some of it is hard as they don't speak English, so it's awkward and there are some social elements that I just don't totally understand. My husband tries to explain them to me and I am also trying to learn Korean, but it is so very difficult from what I am used to, so it is a slow process. Anyways, as we were planning our wedding, a first for both of us, we were paying for it ourselves. His parents passed away and my mom would love to help, but is fully middle class and unable to do so. However, she did end up paying for my dress. So we set out to make plans and try to do it nicely, but also as cost effectively as possible. Our most expensive expense was the venue and food, but I did all the flowers and decorations myself, which saved us a lot. The first issue was my dress. It wasn't a particularly expensive dress, $900 on sale. Yes, I love a good sale. I mean, I've heard the cost of a lot of wedding dresses. All my friends are getting married and wowza, okay? My sister got her wedding dress off the Azazi website during the COVID times, didn't even try it on, ordered it. It was like a couple $100. It was her wedding dress. She looked stunning. I would do the same thing. But I did pay for alterations where I bought it, but my mistake started when I scheduled to pick it up when my mom wasn't able to come with me. The alterations lady was a little cold and standoffish and I felt awkward. I also have never bought a wedding dress before, so I didn't exactly know what I needed. I asked to get it hemmed and to have the bustle added. That evening, I went to my mom's to try it on again, and that is when we realized that the hem was poorly done and uneven, and the bustle wasn't added at all. I again was feeling so awkward and unsure, and they were no help. And unfortunately, I signed when I picked it up that I accepted the dress and there were no changes unless I paid for additional services. I was so upset with their service that I ended up going somewhere else and I ended up having to pay an additional $800 for alterations. Is that how much alterations cost? I've never altered a dress in my entire life. I've never had anything altered. Every bridesmaid dress, I know exactly what size I am on the websites. I'm tall enough where it never needs to be shortened. Lord of mercy, tell me that's not what alterations cost. That's almost the cost of the dress. Hell, I'll do it myself. I can sew. I'll do it myself. That's crazy. So I sucked it up and I did it. The next thing was with my bridesmaids. My husband only has his brother and cousin here in the States. I met his cousin once. She lives in another state and I thought that she was great. I asked if she wanted to be a bridesmaid and initially she said yes. With her, I had two other friends of mine, but they also lived in other states. So bridesmaid dress shopping was done online. I found a dress I loved that was around $100. I was trying to keep it low cost because I didn't want them to have to spend a lot of money when they were going to have to pay for travel to our state for the wedding. And I thought $100 was doable. I also gave them the option to do their own hair and makeup, or they could pay to have my stylist do theirs as well. Well, after I sent the link for the dress, suddenly she said it wasn't available in her size. I went online and it was available in her size. Then she asked if she could do another dress entirely. When I said no, because I wanted them all to match, she just said she couldn't do it anymore because she didn't think her husband could take care of their 1-year-old baby by himself. I think that was a lie, and the real reason was the cost. I would have been completely understanding if she had just told me the truth, and we maybe could have bought the dress for her, but I was upset with the lie and I didn't offer. So I just kept my 2 other bridesmaids. The next issue was with the cake. My husband said that one of his Korean friends was offering to make our cake for us. I agreed. She shared a picture of a cake she had made for someone else, and it was exactly the look I was going for. I did ask my husband to get more details on the flavor, but ultimately I didn't care too much. While I wanted a cake more for tradition, I knew it didn't need to be a big deal, but it became a big deal. About 2 months before our wedding, she said she could no longer do it. Her excuse? She told my husband that she didn't think she could please me. Keep in mind, I've never met this woman at all. I didn't request anything specific, nothing. So out of the blue, she was making me out to be the problem to my husband. To his credit, he was upset about this as well and no longer wanted to invite her to the wedding. Later, he thinks that she backed out because they were having money troubles. And again, if she had been honest, all would have been fine. I wouldn't hold someone to an offer like that if they were struggling financially. I would have even offered to pay for it because again, 2 months away, but we weren't even given that option. Luckily, I was able to find a local bakery that was able to meet our timeline, and I just provided some of my flowers for the decor. It was delicious, and we definitely will be getting another one for our anniversary. The next and most crazy drama came with another acquaintance of my husband. Also a Korean lady, though she was closer to my mother's age. She said she would be happy to provide a singer. We thought, great, we can use them at our ceremony, and that solves one of the details that we hadn't figured out yet. So a few weeks go by and we haven't heard anything. So I asked my husband to reach out for details as we needed to finalize some things. Well, it turns out she only wanted this singer, a friend of hers, to sing one song in Korean and then asked that we add him to the list of attendees so he could RSVP and pick his food. So she just wanted a +1. And she insisted that there be a screen set up so that the English translation could be shown. Well, that wasn't what we wanted. First of all, we didn't want a stranger at our wedding that we are paying for ourselves. We were keeping it relatively small. No more than 80 people were invited. If this was her relative or significant other, then we would have given her a +1. If this person was going to sing several songs, then great, we would have offered a vendor meal. But one song really wasn't helpful for us. Okay, before I continue, I need a sip of water. I'm sure you do too. It's hydration station. Drink your water. Cheers. I swear no matter what I do, my lips are so chapped. I've tried all your suggestions. I've tried so many, I've tried everything. They're like cracking. They're so chapped. It's the weather. It's the weather. It's okay. It's gonna be fine. Also, our ceremony was outdoors, and again, she instead turned on a projector screen, so that wouldn't work. But also, if we wanted to do this at another part of the event, during the cocktail or reception, we would have to pay for the hotel for the use of their AV equipment, because of course, she wasn't offering to pay for that. So we politely declined. But did she just accept that and move on? Of course not. She decided that we were being very rude and that she'd already told him that he could be there. And she didn't want to tell him that he couldn't come and was upset that the hotel didn't have a screen. We had a group message and my husband tried to explain that we would have to pay for a screen and the dinner she wanted, and she basically blew it off saying that it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing when we were trying to scrape and save and pay for this wedding ourselves. My husband was getting so upset and wanted to cuss her out, so I took over the messages and I was being very polite but firm. Well, then she messaged my husband alone in Korean and basically blamed me. Said it was all my fault and that I was rude to her. What she didn't know is that any message I sent was reviewed and approved by my husband before I sent it, and I was a lot nicer than he wanted to be. Back in the group message, she said she no longer wanted to speak to us ever again. I responded that I was sorry she felt that way, but I understood, and we ended all communication there. Of course, she did go to some mutual friends and badmouth me again, but luckily the people she talked to weren't really close to her, and they knew me decently well. that they knew that what she was saying was out of character for me. The next issue that occurred was on our wedding day. Oh my God, just a series of unfortunate events over here. The day was beautiful and the weather was amazing for our outdoor ceremony. I married my best friend and the love of my life. After the ceremony, we went to take pictures. We took some with the wedding party and close family and friends, and then it was just me and my husband. But apparently everyone, at least all of the Koreans, wanted to come take pictures with us. Luckily, my mom shut it down, and I was unaware until after the fact that we were almost swarmed. The last issue involved 4 people, Koreans that my husband wanted to invite. These people got the invitation but never responded. My husband reminded them before we had to submit our final numbers, but no response. After everything was settled with the venue, suddenly they decided they wanted to come. My husband informed them that they could come to this ceremony only, that there was no longer an option for a seat at the reception, let alone food. They asked if they could go eat dinner and then come back for the rest of the reception. We finally agreed after consulting the venue coordinator that we could set up a few chairs for them in the corner, but reiterated that there was no food for them. Then, before the reception started, our friend, who was our day coordinator, came up to us and said that there were no seats for 4 people who showed up. My response, of course there are no seats for them because they never RSVP'd. My mom told me not to worry about it, and she left with our coordinator to see what they could do. On the off chance, my grandmother, who was in her 80s, decided she didn't want to stay after the ceremony. So her and her caregiver left early, leaving their seats vacant. I also had a cousin and her husband back out after we finalized everything with an excuse that made it clear I was not a valued family member. So we did end up with a total of 4 vacant seats and food. But to top it all off, they insisted that they be sat at another table with people they knew. A table that was already full. We were ultimately upset, but we didn't have to deal with it directly, so we just moved on. Oh, and one more not so fun thing. While we were eating, one of our Korean guests decided to come to our table to take group pictures. And then this led to others, only the Koreans, doing the same. I was getting so annoyed because I just wanted to eat. While I wish they had waited, I understand that they may not have understood the customs at an American wedding, and they are all nice people. I was eventually able to return to my steak, so all is forgiven. While the planning and even the day wasn't perfect, I still got to marry a wonderful man, and we are close to celebrating our 1-year anniversary. But if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely elope. You are giving me so much to think about now that I am engaged over here. Let me know your thoughts on all this crazy drama because it is your stories. All these stories came from the Sass Squad, so we're gonna be talking to each other in the comments, all right? Stay classy out there, stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow.